Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new show we're going to be bringing you right here on RVN called RVN Playoff Recap. Yes, so glad you could be with us here tonight. Now, Playoff Recap is going to be a show where, let's give you a short preview of the show. So basically, what's going to happen is that every night, at least this week, we're going to be bringing you up to date on playoff information. So, for example, since the Muskies have a first round bye, and tonight was the actual start of the USHL playoffs, we're going to be reviewing those games. Well, at least some of those games. Just the one that we're really focused on. That's the only one we're really going to be focusing on. But other than that, pretty much we'll be talking about all things playoffs in terms of, NBA, NHL, since that's all coming up here. NBA starts tomorrow, technically, and then NHL Saturday. So, yeah, but first, we're going to start out every single show with Today in History Musketeers edition. So today, 20 years ago, today, April 15th, 2004, the Muskies were playing game one of the semifinals versus Tri-City in Tri-City. Unfortunately, Sioux City lost that game 3-2. In fact, I have the game pulled up here on my computer, and safe to say there was a crap ton of penalties in that game, and that was an overtime game. There was like I said, like a crap ton of penalties. There was just so much. In fact, Sioux City had 25, Tri-City had 19, so that should really say a lot there. In fact, the two goal scorers from the Musketeers that night were Matt Hartman and Justin Bostrom. Those were the guys who scored that night. And there was also some notable alumni that came out of that season for the Muskies. In fact, Chris Butler, he assisted the first goal that the Muskies scored. Butler, he had an 11-season-long career in the NHL, and he won the Stanley Cup, in his final season with with St. Louis back in 2019. And then Travis Turnbull, he is another NHL alumni. He only played 3 games in the NHL, and that was with Buffalo during the 11 and 12 season, and he actually did score a goal in those 3 games. So hey, not bad. He's mainly played in Europe ever since then. So yeah, and he seems to have had a pretty successful career there. Gosh, my words are just going crazy. So yeah, we're gonna do that every night. We're on the air for one of these playoff recaps. So you're gonna be in luck because we're going to have a playoff recap every single night, Monday through Friday this week. So I'm just kind of give you the rundown on how each show is going to be during this week. Of course, tonight we're going to be reviewing game one stuff and taking a look at some scores from across the country and get you set up for the games coming tomorrow. And then and then night 2, Tuesday, we'll actually be downstairs in the studio on Tuesday or tomorrow and really for the rest of the week. So yeah, it'll just be a recap video of things that happen in the playoffs. Like, for example, here in the USHL, with the USHL, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be, looking at the series and the games and stuff like that. And then Thursday, we're going to actually have the USHL bracket for round 2, because this is technically round 1 now. So round 2, we're actually going to preview each series of round 2. That'll be Thursday night. And then Friday night, we're actually going to preview both NBA and NHL. We'll be on for about an hour, 15 minutes ish on Friday night starting. I don't know. It depends on whether or not the Muskies play Friday night or not. In fact, if the Muskies don't play Friday night, we might actually be on in no, it'd be after the second play-in game ends to determine the West 8th seed. That would be when we come on the air, is after that game to the nearest 5-minute mark. So it would probably be, if it starts at like 10 p.m. Eastern, then we would probably be on the air at like 12:30, 12:45 a.m. Eastern. And then we would, and for, if it's a 9:30 p.m. Eastern start, that would, of course, be moved up by half an hour. Excuse me. So yeah, every single show tomorrow through Friday will be downstairs in the basement. And then my plan is my plan to do, and also on Thursday night we're going to be reviewing the first round series in the USHL. And that will actually be a primetime show. Every time there's a playoff recap, it'll be around this time or a little bit later on. But Thursday night will actually be a primetime show at about 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we would be on probably for 45 minutes to an hour. Thursday night. I haven't written the show Bible yet for Thursday night. So yeah, tonight is just kind of like a preview show just to, tell you what to expect during these. And like I said, we're going to be doing this for every single round leading up to the championship. Now, for the NBA, the NHL, and the USHL, we won't be doing them for the finals. We will do them all the way up till conference finals, but we won't be doing them for the final because we're already going to be covering every single game anyway. So there's almost no point to that whatsoever. So yeah, to like have one right at the end, kind of like, so yeah. So that's pretty much how that's going to work. Since we have a little bit more time than usual. Well, these will only be 20 minutes. Like tomorrow night and Wednesday night are going to be 20 minutes long. Now, Wednesday night, we either A, won't be on Wednesday night, or B, we might not be on as long. That's just because there's, with the USHL Game 3, there may be 1 or 2 Game 3s in the USHL. So, yeah, that's why we may not be on as long Wednesday night, if that makes sense. There's not really much going on in sports world besides playoff action. So, yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at the game that we have interest in, and that was the Lincoln Waterloo game. So here we go. I'll review that game. Honestly, not really much happened. That first period was pretty darn boring, if you ask me. In fact, no goals or no penalties that period. However, though, in the second period at the 8:05 mark, Lincoln scored. That was Jack Picard from Ethan Weber and German Yavish. That made it a 1-0 Stars lead. And then Lincoln took a penalty at the 10:47 mark. Jacob Brombach, 2 minutes for holding. Third period, at the 7:28 mark, Keaton Peters hooking for 2 minutes. That was the penalty there, and that's pretty much all the game was. In fact, Waterloo had the net empty for about the final 2 minutes, roughly. However, though, they could not get a goal. So 1-0, Lincoln takes game 1, which is good. We want Lincoln to win because, then it's basically a straight dogfight to Fargo, basically. And with Fargo and how good they are, it's going to be a challenge, to say the least. Even more challenging than when we played Tri-City, although we swept them. So hopefully Fargo will decline a little bit. Hopefully they'll be just so tired from the second round matchup that they won't be able to compete. Or, God forbid, something happens. Because the thing about Tri-City is that they said the reason why they lost were because the ice conditions in Tri-City were absolute crap. I don't know the validity on that. I heard that from like a couple of people, some Muskie fans who were actually down in Kearney, Nebraska to watch that, and our radio broadcaster, Curtis, he said something about that too. In fact, his exact, I'll paraphrase what he said. He said the ice conditions were shit. that was pretty much what he said, S word included. So yeah, I'm like, okay, well, if he's saying that, in fact, I believe he's like the longest tenured broadcaster in the USHL. I want to say, don't quote me on that, because Sioux Falls guy has been around for a while. Waterloo's guy has been around for a while. So don't quote me on that. I don't know about anybody. I think as far as I know, the East, there's really nobody long tenured that I know of. So yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at some other games from throughout game ones. In fact, we should call them. Yes. Well, tonight Madison beat Youngstown by a score of 7-4. It was tied up at 1 at the end of 1, and Madison scored 5 goals in that second period. 2 of them by Aiden Long, and then 2 goals total from Max Nagel. And I guess Youngstown, they just weren't able to compete with Madison. In fact, In the first period and in the third period, both teams scored 1 goal each. So that should really say a lot. Then obviously we took a look at the Lincoln Waterloo game, which was nothing new. Right now, they're just getting started with overtime in a crazy game. Sioux Falls at Tri-City tied up at 5. Sioux Falls had a 3-0 lead 5 minutes into the second. Well, I shouldn't say that. 3-1 lead. 3-1 lead. Just 5 minutes into the second period. However, though, Lincoln came out and scored 2 goals within a minute and 26 seconds to tie the game at 3. But then Tyler Borgula from Sioux Falls scored with a minute and 28 seconds left, and that made it a 4-3 game. Now, Tri-City tied it up at the 8:44 mark. Jake Rossi scored the goal to tie it up at 4. Now, the only reason why I'm going through this game is because, it's just so crazy. All the stuff that's happened that, in this game, it's just nuts. And then Tyler Borgula scored a goal with 58 seconds left. So Sioux Falls has a 5-4 lead. You probably see where this is going. In the final seconds, just 3 seconds left, Jake Rossi scored to tie the game. So he's tied the game twice for Tri-City. He already has a hat trick. So that's just crazy. Anyway, other games from across the one other first round matchup. Green Bay beat Chicago 6-5. Another close one too. Pretty much everybody contributed equal to the score sheet for Chicago. And then for Green Bay, Lucas Peterson scored 2 goals for them. And then with 12:16 left to go in the third period, Ryan Humphrey made it a 6-5 game. Both teams 1 for 3 on the power play. In fact, if you take a look at the scoring log from the game, Green Bay scored 1 goal in the first, 2 goals in the second, and then 3 goals in the third. I just think that's cool. So yeah, they had just as much of a barn burner down in Green Bay as they're having right now in Kearney, Nebraska. So that's nice, to say the least. And then NHL scores. We'll cut the music out there. NHL scores 8 games on for a Monday. Whoopsie daisies. Hold on. I accidentally clicked on a random video. There we go. NHL scores. In fact, I think if I keep it on here like so, you'll still be able to hear it. Red Wings beat the Canadiens in overtime 5-4 earlier tonight. Islanders beat the Devils 4-1. Penguins beat the Predators 4-2. Beat the Lightning 4-2. The Capitals beat the Bruins 2-0. The Rangers beat the Senators 4-0. And then there's 2 other games going on right now. Oilers lead the Sharks 8-1 with 6 minutes left to go in the second period. That's just craziness to me. Wild lead the Kings 1-0 with 9:12 left to go in the second period. Then MLB scores, of course, because can't forget about the MLB. Great organization. Top 9, Braves lead the Astros 3-1 in the top of the 9th, like I said. Then at the end of the 5th, St. Louis leads Oakland 1-0. Right now, Cubs and Diamondbacks are tied up at 1. Middle of the 4th, the Mariners lead the Reds 5-2. Top of the 3rd, the Nationals and the Dodgers are tied up at 2. The Guardians beat the Red Sox earlier today 6-0. Orioles beat the Twins 7-4. Rangers beat the Tigers 1-0. 2-1, Phillies beat the Rockies in 10 innings. The Giants beat the Marlins 4-3. The Angels beat the Rays 7-3. Blue Jays beat the Yankees 3-1. Mets beat the Pirates 6-3. Royals beat the White Sox 2-0. And Padres beat the Brewers 7-3. But yeah, that game going on in Kearney, Nebraska, it is still going on right now as we speak. There are 2 minutes and 45 seconds into that game currently right now as we speak. And now, tomorrow night, make sure you join us same time, same place, 9:40 or 10:40 Eastern time, 9:40 Central. We have a lot that happened in Musketeer history. So yeah, we have a lot that happened to say the least. So yeah, you can stay tuned for that tomorrow night. 10:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday, like I said, we might be on 10:40, we might be on at 10:45. It just depends on how much is going on. Remember, the NBA play-in tournament begins tomorrow night. In fact, hold on, let me get the schedule pulled up for that. I don't have the matchups memorized. Well, I have the matchups memorized. It's just when they're playing. That's the Lakers and the Pelicans tomorrow night at 7:30, and then at 10 the Warriors at the Kings. And then Wednesday night it's the Heat at the 76ers at 7 o'clock, and then at 9:30 Hawks at Bulls. And then of course we have the 8 seed games Friday night. So yeah, safe to say this week is going to be a fun one. Like I said, not only will we do this type of show for the NBA and the NHL, we will also do it during the MLB postseason. Although, it'll just be at the end of the series. So the wild card series, we would do one for the end of that, and then we would do one for the end of the divisional, and then at the end of the championship series, and then obviously we wouldn't have one for the World Series because we're going to be covering most of the games, if not all the games anyway. So yeah, that wouldn't really affect things. And then for the NFL, it would be after each round. So for the wild card round, it would probably be like an 11:40 p.m. Eastern time where we, actually no, because of the Monday night wild card game. So then it would be on Monday night instead of Sunday night. So yeah, of course, when you have to go back to school, but you also have to work late. So yeah, and then for like the divisional round, we would still have the regular, or it would probably be about 10:30 p.m. Eastern for about half an hour, and then for same thing for the championship. Wouldn't do one for the Super Bowl. Probably won't do one for the Pro Bowl games. It's just unnecessary, really. So yeah, I don't cover the Pro Bowl games. In fact, I don't even know how it works now. Honestly, they effed around with, well, it's after 9 o'clock, so I can say it. They fucked around with the format. So it's made it to where I can't watch it anymore. And, and that's the thing with sports nowadays. People don't watch the All-Star games anymore because they're saying, oh, it's not the same or the format sucks. I can believe that. Like footballs is probably the worst, honestly. The way they screwed up the Pro Bowl and stuff, I'm just not quite a fan of it. But because at least before it was just a regular football game, but now it's flag football and it's all these challenges and stuff. Like they have a whole Thursday night thing for like 90 minutes. And then they got this, they'll play one quarter and then a couple of games in between, another quarter, and then another couple of games, then a halftime, and then the quarter, then another couple of games, then the final quarter to determine the winner. Like, what's the point of that? Why don't you do what the NHL does and have a skills competition the night before and then actually play a football game? Kind of like what the MLB does. It's what hockey does. NBA does that too. I mean, come on now. Like, although I'm sure the NFL probably has done that, it's just now they decided to screw around with the format that it's just, it's unwatchable to say the least. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Apologies for getting on about a minute and a half later than usual, just technical problems. So, yeah, however, though, we will be back with you 9:40 Eastern or 10:40 Eastern time, rather, tomorrow night. Let's see. Do we have a final update? Nope. It's still going. Sioux Falls and Tri-City tied up at 5. We'll give you an update first thing tomorrow night on that game before we get into the games tomorrow night. So, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow night, 10:40 Eastern.